Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. Kevin Hogan here. Let's take a look at our top stories. The eviction ban expires, a sigh of relief for landlords across the country, but millions of Americans who are behind on rent could soon be evicted. An infrastructure bill unveiled. A bipartisan group finalized the text over an uncommon weekend session. We'll tell you how many Republican senators some say are expected to support it. A new study shows that most voters in Georgia didn't adequately check their paper ballot to make sure it matched their voting preferences. The information published as some in Georgia call for audits of the 2020 election. The nationwide eviction ban has expired after Congress failed to extend it over the weekend. Progressive Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says Democrats only have themselves to blame. NTD's Jessica Beatty reports.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said Sunday that no one can blame Republicans for the federal eviction ban expiring because Democrats hold a majority in the House.
The House and House leadership had the opportunity to vote to extend the moratorium, and there was frankly a handful of conservative Democrats in the House that threatened to get on planes rather than hold this vote.
In June, the Supreme Court ruled that any extension of the ban would have to be approved by Congress. Last week, at the last minute, President Biden called on Congress to act.
And the White House waited until the day before the House adjourned to release a statement asking on Congress to extend the moratorium. I believe a needlessly difficult situation.
Democrat Representative Cori Bush camped outside the Capitol Saturday night. She's frustrated that House leaders didn't do more.
This is our way of saying, hey, House leadership, reconvene us like we're still here. Do something. We can't take vacation right now.
And landlords in Illinois are welcoming the end of the eviction ban. Paul Arena from the Illinois Rental Property Owners Association told the Epoch Times landlords have not been able to recover the losses from tenants who simply moved out while owing large amounts of back rent or who are unwilling to apply for assistance. A new report says nearly 2 million U.S. renter households owe more than $15 billion in back rent. Michael Minnie from the Chicagoland Apartment Association told ET they're working with tenants to set up specialized payment plans, waive late fees, and extend grace periods to help those who are struggling. Congress approved nearly $47 billion in federal housing aid to states. The White House and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have called on states to get that money to landlords and tenants. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
Senators have rolled out a nearly $1 trillion infrastructure package. Now there's expected to be a long debate over the bipartisan bill, which is one of President Biden's top priorities. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act has 2,700 pages. Emotions ran high after the bill was written. Senators negotiated with the White House on it for weeks, and they aim to keep a similar outline as what they discussed. It includes about $500 billion in new spending over the next 5 years, going to several key projects in the nation's infrastructure. Republican Senator from Maine, Susan Collins, says she believes the package will gain at least 10 Republican support, which suggests the bill will clear the 60-vote filibuster.
This bill is good for America, and in the end, I think we will have more than 10 Republicans who support the bill.
She says she hopes the bill will be finished by the end of the week, with possible amendments being added on. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said he worked with negotiators throughout the process.
We're here right now during a rare weekend session in order to move the bipartisan bill forward as quickly as possible.
Moderate Democrat Joe Manchin suggests the bill may gain substantial Republican support.
It's something that every state, every area of every state needs.
But some Republicans oppose the bill, saying it costs too much.
I rise today because I've got real concerns with this bill. There are a number of Americans who see that all is not well with the way we spend money.
The bill's fate in the House is uncertain, as some Democrats have said that it shouldn't be passed unless a massive $3.5 trillion bill is guaranteed. Republicans oppose the massive bill that includes climate and social programs. The GOP points to its price tag while inflation is rising. But so far, senators have shown support for the infrastructure bill, with procedural votes having a 66-28 margin in favor of it. Top U.S. infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci signaled that the White House doesn't want to re-implement COVID-19 lockdowns amid a surge in cases of the Delta variant.
And the data.
President Joe Biden's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said on ABC's This Week that he does not expect the United States to return to lockdowns despite the growing risks of COVID-19 infections posed by the Delta variant.
I don't see that at all happening.
Fauci's comments on Sunday follow a recent interview with Reuters during which the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases said he did not see there being a nationwide vaccine mandate either, but hoped that full FDA approval for COVID-19 vaccines would come this month,
The middle of August.
and spur more Americans to get shots to slow a rising infection rate.
It's going up. How far up it goes is going to depend on how we as a society address it. The more people you get vaccinated, the less likely it's going to go up, even more.
Although Fauci did not think the U.S. will need to shut down again as it did last year, he warned on ABC that, quote, things are going to get worse as the Delta variant continues to spread.
10 Republican senators introduced a bill to investigate how the CDC creates official guidance about the CCP virus. This follows new advice from the CDC on fully vaccinated Americans wearing masks indoors.
Senator Marco Rubio and 9 other Republicans introduced a bill to investigate the CDC's decision-making and messaging about the CCP virus. They announced the legislation after the CDC recommended that fully vaccinated Americans should wear masks indoors in areas where the virus is prevalent. In a statement, Rubio says the new guidelines make little sense and don't seem to be based on any clear scientific data. He says Americans have spent the last year and a half making tremendous sacrifices to halt the virus's spread, but they are confused and have lost trust in our institutions. The bill would have the Government Accountability Office audit how the CDC comes up with official guidance, and if the CDC's public messaging has negatively impacted Americans' trust in the institution. A viral Twitter thread last week highlighted how the CDC and Dr. Anthony Fauci gave contradictory information and advice repeatedly throughout the pandemic. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky defended the new guidance. She says vaccines prevented people with the CCP virus from spreading the virus before, but that changed with the Delta variant.
But here's the new science we saw in the last several days, corroborated by several different outbreak investigations. And that is, if you are vaccinated and you happen to be one of those rare breakthrough infections, you in fact can pass disease to others.
The Republicans' bill would also seek to determine if outside groups influence the CDC's decision-making. Another sponsor of the bill is Senator Cynthia Lummis. She says the CDC's decisions have become politicized and have resulted in a more divided country. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
A study that was just published shows that most Georgia voters didn't take enough time to review their paper ballots before putting them in the voting tabulator. The new data comes in as pressure rises in Georgia for an audit of the 2020 election. NTD's Don Ma has the story.
A newly released study shows that most Georgia voters didn't adequately examine their paper ballots before inserting them in a tabulator. A fifth of voters didn't look at the ballots at all, and just over 30% of the others gave a brief glance. The University of Georgia carried out the study. Students observed voters and recorded how long they looked at their ballot after it was printed by the Dominion voting machine. According to the study, less than 20% of voters looked for 5 seconds or more. The study was designed to see if voters verified that their vote was recorded correctly. A professor in the Department of Political Science at the University of Georgia who helped run the study told the Epoch Times that most voters did not take enough time to look at their ballots based on the study criteria. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger took a different message from the study. He says that millions of voters did check their ballots for accuracy, and that is proof that their votes were counted correctly. Some lawmakers and voting integrity groups say there were massive errors and fraud in Georgia's 2020 election. They are calling for a comprehensive audit of the election. Don Ma, NTD News.
Pennsylvania State Senator Doug Mastriano says he's seeking to issue subpoenas to investigate the state's 2020 election. Mastriano started the process of conducting a forensic audit in Pennsylvania by requesting election materials from 3 counties. All of the counties refused to comply with his request, with some elections officials saying they don't want their machines to be decertified in the process. Mastriano says he's trying to get everyone's calendars aligned on the committee he chairs to get a quorum to vote on the subpoenas. The Pennsylvania Department of State says a risk-limiting audit of the 2020 election has confirmed the state's election results. And in other news, heat waves can be hard for everyone, but extreme heat can be even more dangerous for those who belong to certain at-risk groups. NTD's Aaron Pastar takes a look at how the people in the Pacific Northwest are dealing with rising temperatures.
Millions of Americans across the Pacific Northwest were under a heat advisory over the weekend, with temperatures soaring to around 105 degrees.
I feel a heat stroke, and I lay down and I say, oh God, if I'm ever going to get up, and I go drink and try to drink a lot of water,
Last month, a days-long heat wave killed hundreds of people and paralyzed a region accustomed to mild summers. Elderly residents are taking no chances with the blistering temperatures.
Usually our high is 90, and that was hot. But this is scorching. Yeah, very scorching. And I have AC, thank gosh. And I basically stay in and do house chores that don't get done.
Unfortunately, not everyone in the region has air conditioning, but other tools can still help battle the heat.
So every year we do a fan drive, and because the heat came so soon this year, we started delivering fans actually in early June. So far we have delivered more than 300 fans to our seniors.
But fan delivery isn't the only way people are helping each other out in Washington State. In the city of Spokane, a cooling center opens during the day where locals can cool down. The city is also advising everyone to look out for each other.
Check in with those who may be either have some kind of underlying condition that makes the heat a little bit more difficult for them to manage. They don't have air conditioning, they don't have a way to get to some of those other locations to help check out on those people.
Fortunately, the heat isn't a problem for everyone, especially younger kids who enjoy the warm weather. Many have been seen cooling down in the water and enjoying cold, sweet treats in the sun. Aaron Pastar, NTD News.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is being accused of violating her own executive order requiring face masks in the district, but she says there's no scandal here. The Washington Examiner took a photo of the mayor at a rooftop wedding Saturday night where she was seen seated indoors without a mask. But the mayor's office says she was eating or drinking at the time. While under her order, anyone over the age of 2 has to wear a mask indoors. They can take it off to eat or drink. The annual 4-day music festival Lollapalooza has reopened in Chicago in the midst of growing COVID-19 cases. We hear from the concertgoers how they feel after last year's event cancellation.
July 31st, Saturday, is typically Lollapalooza's busiest day out of its 4-day schedule. In the midst of the pandemic, Lollapalooza requires either proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test from the last 72 hours for entry. On July 29th, the first day of the event, the organizer tweeted that over 90% of attendees have shown proof of vaccination.
I'm glad that they're requiring people to be vaccinated. We're both vaccinated, so, not that will absolutely prevent us from getting it.
Just a day before, Chicago surpassed 200 new COVID cases per day. The festival requires everyone to wear a mask when indoors starting Saturday. Employees are handing out disposable masks at the entry.
Understanding that we still are in a pandemic, and some cases are rising with the Delta variant, but it certainly still is a lot better than it was this time last year.
Some concertgoers are cautious of being in a large crowd.
We're not going to get right in the middle of everything. We're going to kind of be off to the side a little bit.
We didn't get into crowds real deep. I mean, we're not getting up front where everybody's packed in. Kind of stay back a little bit, try to keep our distance.
We're both going to get COVID tested afterwards just to be sure we don't have it.
Concertgoers are happy to see that things are going back to normal.
Every one of them brings up how happy they are to be back on stage.
Yeah.
Literally every band. So.
Yeah, it really is. It just is heartwarming to see how excited they truly are to be here and how appreciative.
But it's just great to listen to live music and be in this setting. Chicago's a beautiful city. So to be out there and just be able to hear the music at night, it gets beautiful because you can see the cityscape while you're listening to music. Yeah, it's really pretty. It's a lot of fun.
Lollapalooza ends on Sunday, August 1st, but the summer zest carries on.
A Chicago official is trying to block former President Trump from receiving a $1 million tax refund owed on his Chicago skyscraper's 2011 tax bill. Cook County State's Attorney Kimberly Fox filed a lawsuit disputing the refund. She says the money would come out of property taxes due to the city of Chicago, the Chicago Public Schools, and several other government agencies. The lawsuit comes after officials voted in June that the former president is owed a total tax refund of over $1 million because the tax value of the Trump International Hotel and Tower was overassessed. The dispute over the tax bills on the high-rise building is the latest chapter in a long-running legal battle over Trump's tax bills that started more than 12 years ago and has led to more than $14 million in tax breaks for the former president. Coming up, censorship concerns are sparking as tech giant YouTube tightens restrictions on the media over alleged COVID-19 misinformation. The platform's latest crackdown is a week-long suspension of Sky News Australia, a major conservative news channel. And a ban on cruise ships passing through and docking in Venice took effect this weekend. It's a victory for the city's heritage conservationists, but a blow to industry workers. Find out more here on NTD News.
If you're like most of us, you're probably getting fed up with the nonsense that's going on in the banking system. Did you know that top U.S. banks have recently amended their depositor terms and conditions to include the words bank failure and what's required of you in 24 hours if, or should I say when, it happens? Don't get blindsided by your bank. Call GSI Exchange today to pick up your complimentary copy of the Bank Failure Survival Guide at 866-424-2382. We'll also send you the required format to file with your bank within 24 hours of their failure, which is now required by the top banks to avoid freezing of your funds. Yes, the top banks can now freeze your money. The world is in a strange place, and banks are constantly changing the rules. So stay on top of the current events that really matter by calling GSI Exchange and requesting your free guide at 866-424-2382.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
YouTube is ramping up restrictions on media outlets over alleged COVID-19 misinformation. Recently, the tech giant has suspended Australian conservative TV network Sky News Australia for 1 week. Here's more.
Sky News Australia is one of the country's most popular conservative news channels, with nearly 2 million subscribers on YouTube. But recently, the video platform has issued a strike to the channel, suspending it from posting videos for 1 week over so-called COVID-19 misinformation. The suspension began July 29th. According to Sky News, the suspension involved old videos posted to its channel. YouTube explained that they don't allow content that denies the existence of COVID-19 or that encourages people to use drugs like hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin to treat or prevent the virus. Sky News Australia responded saying, it expressly rejects that any host has ever denied the existence of COVID-19, as was implied, and no such videos were ever published or removed. Local newspaper The New Daily reports Australian Parliament member George Christensen posted about the issue on social media, demanding the Australian government take action on big tech censorship. Sky News digital editor Jack Houghton argued the suspension is an assault on freedom of thought. According to YouTube's policies, 3 strikes within a 90-day period will see a channel banned permanently from the platform.
Hundreds of people in Venice rallied on land and in small boats last month, demanding an end to cruise ships passing through the historic city's waters. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
The city's government listened, announcing a ban on cruise liners from the Venice lagoon starting August 1st.
It's aimed at defending the city's ecosystem and heritage. The move ended years of political hesitation, but the concerns of activists clash with the interests of port authorities and tourist operators. Tommaso Cacciari is part of the No Grandi Navi campaign group. Campaigners worry about safety and the environment, including pollution and underwater erosion in a city already in peril from rising sea levels.
I'm very proud. For us, it's a big victory, not a small victory. Everyone knew we were disproportionately smaller than big cruise companies. It was so obvious that many compared us to David against Goliath. Us ordinary citizens with our little boats, simple and self-organized, against these giant ships that are not only giant in terms of size, but also in power and money.
When the ban comes into effect, it will prohibit ships weighing more than 27,550 tons from entering the shallow Giudecca Canal. The channel leads past Piazza San Marco, the city's most famous landmark.
Every time we saw one of these ships, coming towards us in Piazza San Marco, it just brought to the front of our minds just how little everybody cares about Venice as World Heritage.
Workers in the city's cruise ship industry haven't been able to work for 19 months due to the pandemic. For them, the government's ban is a serious blow. Antonio Vallecca has worked as a baggage handler at the Venice port for over 15 years.
It was a very huge blow. I felt awful. I felt I had lost the certainty of my life. We had just resumed work on June 5th after 19 months of inactivity and 19 months without work for any person who is used to working. I've worked here for 15 years. It's unimaginable.
The ban means only small passenger ferries and goods vessels can use the Giudecca Canal. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Still to come, a Belarusian athlete seeks asylum during the Olympics. She says her team was forcing her to leave Tokyo and return home. 2 countries offer her visas. Olympics organizers are investigating a case of athletes who drank alcohol together in the Olympic Village against virus protocols. All that and more in just a moment. The Warsaw government has granted a humanitarian visa to a Belarusian athlete. She had taken refuge in the Polish embassy in Tokyo on Monday after refusing her team's orders to board a flight home from the Olympic Games.
Japan on Monday said a Belarusian Olympic sprinter was safe and secure after she refused to board what she said was a forced flight home from Tokyo the night before. Kristina Tsimanouskaya sought help from Japanese police at Haneda Airport, where she says she was taken against her wishes. She told Reuters she did not plan on ever returning to her home country, and she might not have to. Both Poland and the Czech Republic have now offered visas to the athlete. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Katsunobu Kato updated the media on Monday.
We are aware that on August 1st, Belarusian track and field athlete Ms. Kristina Tsimanouskaya announced her wish to seek asylum. As of now, we are aware that Ms. Tsimanouskaya is in a safe situation with the cooperation of the relevant organizations.
IOC spokesperson Mark Adams said they were able to speak to the athlete directly.
We are supporting her and we're listening to her, and we want to make sure that she gets what she wants, and we support her in that.
The Belarusian Olympic Committee says coaches withdrew Tsimanouskaya from the Games on doctors' advice about her emotional, psychological state. But the athlete's refusal to return to Belarus highlights ongoing discord in the former Soviet state, which has seen more than a year of nationwide protests under President Alexander Lukashenko.
Simone Biles is back. Officials say she'll compete in Tuesday's balance beam final, the last women's event on the Tokyo Olympics gymnastics schedule. It will be the first time the American will be seen competing after her withdrawal from last Tuesday's women's team final for mental health issues. In a statement, USA Gymnastics said, "We are so excited to confirm that you will see 2 U.S. athletes in the balance beam final tomorrow, Suni Lee and Simone Biles. Can't wait to watch you both." Despite not competing over the past week, Biles has been a constant presence at the Ariake Gymnastics Center, supporting her U.S. teammates. Tokyo Games organizers began conducting an investigation after a group of athletes were found drinking alcohol in the Olympic Village this week. That's what the CEO of Tokyo 2020 said on Sunday. Olympics organizers are investigating a group of athletes who were found drinking alcohol in the Olympic Village on Friday night. That's according to the CEO of the Tokyo Games, who announced the investigation during a press conference on Sunday. He did not give details on the number of athletes involved or their nationalities, but said Tokyo police were also at the scene, and it was not clear if they took any action. Organizers had previously said athletes were permitted to drink alcohol only in their rooms and only if alone, as a precaution against CCP virus infection. Thanks for watching. At NTD, we're honored to be your source for the news. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. In New York City, I'm Kevin Hogan.
We have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.